All right, let's jump right in. Something huge is happening right under our noses, something that's going to totally shake up how we use energy every single day. We're talking about a revolution in the one thing we all pretty much take for granted, the electric grid. For about a century, our grid has been a simple one-way street. Power flows from a big plant, down the wires, and into your house. End of story. But that's all changing. We're moving to what everyone's calling a smart grid, an intelligent, two-way conversation that connects everything. I mean, everything, from giant power plants and wind farms to the battery in your EV and that smart thermostat on your wall. And listen, this isn't just some cool tech upgrade. We are talking about absolutely colossal savings. A recent study from Juniper Research figured that by 2029, smart grids could save us over $290 billion in energy costs around the world. That is just a mind-boggling amount of money, a massive win for efficiency across the entire planet.
But here's what's really interesting. It's not just about the money. This quote here nails it. The big push towards things like Advanced Battery Energy Storage Systems, or BESS, is also a critical piece of the puzzle for meeting our climate goals. It's about building a grid that's not only cheaper, but one that's way cleaner and more sustainable too. So that brings us to the big question, right? With literally hundreds of billions of dollars on the line, not to mention the future of our entire energy system, how on earth do governments and utilities decide which projects get the green light? How do you make the right call when the stakes are this high?
Well, for a long time, there's been a sort of standard playbook for this, the classic go-to method for making these kinds of massive financial decisions. It's called a cost-benefit analysis, or a CBA for short. The easiest way to think about it is just to picture a giant spreadsheet. On one side, you list every single cost in dollars and cents. On the other, you list all the financial benefits. And it's pretty straightforward, really. If the benefits column is bigger than the cost column, boom, the project gets a thumbs up. It's rational, it's all about the numbers, and it's focused on the bottom line. And this chart here shows you exactly how that works. You start over on the left with the actual technology, right? The hardware and software. That tech leads to certain impacts, real physical changes. And then, here's the key part. All of those impacts get monetized. They're turned into cold, hard cash figures that you can plug right into that spreadsheet. So the bottom line is this. For anything you can easily slap a price tag on, like saving money on fuel or equipment, a CBA is a fantastic tool. It gives you a clean, objective financial answer. But what happens when the most important stuff can't be measured in money? And that's where this classic approach starts to show its cracks. Because let's be real, the benefits of a truly smart grid go way beyond what you can just count up in dollars. They don't always fit so neatly on a balance sheet. Research from a group called the International Smart Grid Action Network, or ISCAN, really shines a light on these weaknesses. I mean, think about it. How do you put a price on cleaner air? What's the dollar value of making sure everyone, no matter where they live, has reliable power? How do you factor in what different communities, the stakeholders, actually want? These are the kinds of questions that just break a simple cost-benefit analysis. Which leads us to a huge problem. Our main tool is basically a calculator, but we're trying to measure things that aren't just numbers. So, how do you measure what you can't put a price on? Clearly, we need a better tool for the job. And this is where a new idea enters the picture. Okay, so check out this table. On the left, you've got our old friend CBA. On the right, this other approach, multi-criteria analysis, or MCA. You can see right away that where CBA is rigid, MCA is flexible. But look at that last row, stakeholders. In a CBA, their opinions aren't really part of the math, but in an MCA, they're active participants. And that, right there, is a game changer. So this leads to a really smart idea. What if we don't just throw out the old tool? What if, instead, we could build a better one by combining the best of both worlds? What if we could create a much more complete scorecard for making these decisions? So what exactly is this multi-criteria analysis anyway? Well, if a CBA is like a financial spreadsheet, think of an MCA as more like a report card. A project gets a grade on a bunch of different subjects. Some are about money, sure, but others are about the environment or how it helps society. MCA gives you a way to weigh all those different grades to find the best overall option, even if some of the goals seem to conflict. And this right here is the key point, maybe the most important takeaway from this whole thing. The smartest approach isn't about CBA versus MCA. It's about taking the CBA and putting it inside the bigger, more flexible MCA framework. You get the hard numbers and the big picture all in one. So what does that actually look like? This diagram lays it all out beautifully. You see the main goal at the very top? Well, to see if a project meets that goal, you evaluate it based on three main pillars. Think of them as the three big tests any project has to pass. Let's quickly break them down. First, the economic pillar. That's your classic CBA. Does it make financial sense? Check. Second, the smart grid pillar. This one asks, does the project actually make the grid, well, smarter? Does it hit those technical goals? And third, you've got the externality pillar. That's a fancy word for all that important stuff that's hard to put a price on, like public health and environmental quality. So when you put it all together, the change is huge. The old way was just asking one simple question. Is it profitable? The new combined way asks a much better, much smarter question. Is this the best overall choice, considering everything? It completely shifts the focus from just financial to truly holistic. And when you think about it, this is about way more than just building power lines or installing new software. How we choose to make these decisions, that actually shapes the kind of future we're all going to get. And that's really the heart of it all. That $290 billion promise of a smart grid, it's not just going to happen because we invent some cool new tech. No way. To build a truly smart grid, we first have to get smarter about how we decide to build it in the first place. And look, this isn't just some abstract thing for planners and regulators. Using a better scorecard to make these huge investments means a better future for you and for me. It means a grid that doesn't go down as often, energy that's used more efficiently, and a healthier, more sustainable planet for everyone. So, it all comes down to this one big thought. We're finally creating the tools to make choices that reflect what we really value, not just what's on a price tag. The question isn't, can we do this anymore? The real question is, what will we choose to do? With these smarter tools in our hands, what kind of energy future are we actually going to choose to build?